Why, hello there. Today, we're going to talk about books. What I've read, what I'm currently reading, and what I'm going to get into. Let's get into it right now. So recently, I finished a book called Death Beneath a Little Sky by Stig Abel, and this was a thriller slash, I would say, suspense mystery. And this guy's uncle dies, and he moves to this town, and it's way out in the middle of nowhere. It's a real small town where you know everybody. Everybody's properties are kind of spread out all over the place. And his uncle passed away, so he inherited his land, and he's gonna go there and get away from everything. He's a former detective. His uncle's house, this big old house, has a nice library, like thousands of books in it. There's no shower or bathtub or washing machine, and there is electricity, so he has that, but there's no phone, there's no internet, like there's no outside communication. So he's kind of gonna live this like hermit lifestyle, which he thinks he's pretty much ready to do because his past relationship with his wife ended. They had several miscarriages and just kind of grew apart, I think, over a span of like 10 years. And so that period of his life has ended and he's ready for a new start. So he starts meeting the townsfolk, and they have this tradition where they go and they try to find this like pretend bag of bones where if you win it, I forget what you win. I don't even remember at this point. But anyways, so they hide it, and he meets this lady, Livia. They partner up and they're gonna go try to find this bag of bones along with the other townsfolk and whatnot. And after that, everyone has a big bonfire and they socialize, and so it's a good chance for him to get to know people. And so usually the bag of bones is supposed to be like tree branches or whatever. And so at first they don't find it, and then eventually they find the bag. And then when they bring it back to the place, it seems really heavy. And so the main character, his name's Jake, he like opens it up and looks inside and is like, are these actual bones? And the lady who hid it is like, no, those are tree branches and I picked them up and this, that, and the other. And he's like, these are human bones. We need to find out if there was a crime committed or whose these are, or if there was like a desecration. And so this sets off a trigger of events where a lot of the townsfolk become very threatening and shady. And yeah, it seems like maybe there was a murder, maybe there wasn't, but everyone's acting funny. And they don't like this new guy coming to town and ruffling everyone's feather and stirring up stuff. And so it's a story of that. And I loved like him being a hermit. He did eventually build like an outdoor shower, and he made a garden and then some chicken coops and like developed the land, and he'd swim in the river, and he was washing his clothes in the river. And at first like he was just like bathing in the river because he didn't have any running water, but he builds up the land and that around it, and he starts to get relationships with the people that are in town. And I liked that element of it, and I enjoyed my time with it. Like, it was fast paced, I liked the atmosphere of it, and I liked the being a hermit out in the middle of nowhere with thousands of books to read. I mean, that was pretty cool. So currently what I'm reading a book called Otter Country, which is about otters. It's a nonfiction, and it's by Miriam Darlington. And it's a nonfiction book about otters where she wants to go and see otters. That's all I really know about it. I'm not very far in. I've read like a chapter. It's very poetic, and I guess she is a poet. It talks about, you get a little bit of her background when she was a kid, and her grandfather was a biologist, and when she was like 11, she held an otter skull, which kind of fascinated her, and she had a fascination with these creatures. And then she read a few books that had otters in them, and some stories about this one guy that kept otters as pets when he was, living in a certain area, and she just kind of had this lifelong fascination with otters. I personally love otters. There's a Twitch channel that I watch that has otters on it that I watch quite often. Let's have it in the background on one of the monitors on the computer. Just, otters swimming around. They're cute. So I kind of had to get this book. I saw it at the library and I saw the otters and I was like, yes, please, I must read it. Talks about that. And then she joined this other group growing up called the Otter Trust to try to preserve and save otters and bring them back to the environment, because a lot of where she lived in the area, I believe she's in Britain, a lot of places where their normal habitats were polluted, and so kind of cleaning up areas and bringing the otters back into that habitat once they're able to, you know, actually go there and not be poisoned by all the chemicals and crap that humans put into the land and whatnot. And so far, it's really fascinating, interesting. Like I said, I'm not too far in, but I do look forward to reading more about the otters. And I like the way that she writes too. It's very, like I said, very poetic and very tangible and visual. All right, so let's talk about what I'm gonna get into. So we got a novella, The Tusks of Extinction by Ray Naylor. And Ray Naylor wrote the book The Mountain in the Sea, which was awesome. And I have a standalone review of that if you're interested in that at all. I'll link that down below. It was about, they discovered this population of octopuses that seemed to have a language. And then this scientist goes out to study the octopuses to possibly make contact and try to communicate with them. And it was awesome. And I loved it. So I definitely wanted to read the next book by that author. And let's tell you about it. And it's like 100 pages, so it's super short. When you bring back a long extinct species, there's more to success than the DNA. Moscow has resurrected the mammoth, but someone must teach them how to be mammoths, or they are doomed to die out again. Dr. Demira Kizmatalina, an expert in elephant behavior, was brutally murdered trying to defend the world's last elephants from the ivory trade. Now, her digitized consciousness has been downloaded into the mind of a mammoth. As the herd's new matriarch, can Demira fend off the poachers long enough for the species to take hold? Or will her own ghost and Moscow's real reason for bringing the mammoth back doom them to a new extinction? And humans are the worst. You would think that they're bringing back this species and the poachers are already gonna try and kill them. What a bunch of a-holes. And I feel like that's probably exactly what would happen too, because humans are the worst. But I look forward to reading this. I hope it's not horribly sad. It's probably gonna make me cry, but we'll see what happens. All right, next up, I'm super excited about this book. Super excited! The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Kist. And let's tell you a little bit about it. It just came out the other day, like a week ago. It was released. I do love a good haunting story, so let's tell you about it. The Velkwood vicinity is a topic of occult theorists, tabloid one-hour documentaries, and even some pseudoscientific investigations as the block of homes disappeared behind a near impenetrable veil that only 3 survivors could enter, and only one has in the past 20 years until now. What? Talitha Velkwood has avoided anything to do with the tragedy that took her mother and 8-year-old sister, drifting since then from one job to another, never settling anywhere or with anyone, feeling as trapped by her past as if she was still in the small town she so desperately wanted to escape. When a new researcher tracks her down and offers to pay her to go back to enter the vicinity, Talitha claims she's just doing it for the money. Despite all the crackpot theories over the years, no one has discovered what happened that night Talitha and her estranged former best friends, Brett and Grace, escaped their homes 20 years ago. Will she finally get the answers, or is this just another dead end? That sounds wild. I had a friend named Talitha growing up. I haven't thought about her in years. We used to go to the clubs all the time. That was back when I liked to leave the house many moons ago. Now I'm like, oh, loud music and what? Maybe I'll dance in my living room. It's cool. Anyway, next we have An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. I am pretty sure this is dark academia. Let's find out together, because I don't know. I just kept seeing this on Instagram and picked it up because I saw it at the library. Deep in the forgotten hills of Massachusetts stands St. Perpetua's Women's College. Isolated and ancient, it is not a place for timid girls. Here, secrets are currency, ambition is lifeblood, and strange ceremonies welcome students into the fold. On her first day of class, Laura Sheridan is thrust into an intense academic rivalry with the beautiful and enigmatic Carmilla. Together, they are drawn into the confidence of their demanding poetry professor, De La Fontaine, who holds her own dark obsession with Carmilla. But as the rivalry blossoms into something far more delicious. Laura must confront her own strange hungers. Tangled in a sinister game of politics, bloodthirsty professors, and magic, Laura and Carmilla must decide how much they're willing to sacrifice in their ruthless pursuit of knowledge. And yeah, that definitely is dark academia. I feel like we got a good variety coming up. And I think I'm, out of those three, definitely the most excited for The Haunting of Falkwood, because that sounds wild, and I really didn't know what that was about before picking it up. I am the person who sees people talking about stuff a lot in my like social media orbit, and I'm like, all right, let's go. I'll grab it. I don't even know what it's about, but I kind of trust some of these people, so let's see. We'll see what it is. I can always do enough of it if I don't like it, you know? So, what are you guys currently reading? Anything interesting? Any good thrillers? Any good books about otters? I've never read a book about an otter before, so I'm kind of excited about the book I'm currently reading. It's been a more recent animal interest. There's a YouTube channel too that I follow. It's called Katsumet, and it's these two otters, and they're adorable. I like to watch their videos. They make funny noises, and they like to gobble up food because they're little piggies. Super cute. So, you are a fan of videos where I talk about multiple books that I'm reading or have read. The next video coming up will be about that, so stick around, check it out. And if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.